Welcome to the Buckeye Lounge pre-recorded show. Special guest today, we have Mr. Steve Bellisari. I have with me, like always, the Wolverine Slayer herself, TG. Steve, how you doing today?
Doing well, doing really well. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, we appreciate you coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, know that you've been a little bit busy. Tell everybody what you're doing now.
Yeah, so outside of my day job, coaching a little high school football, coaching at Bishop Watterson, help with the quarterbacks. My son actually plays for them as well, and then my nephew. So my brother and I are coaching together, and we're going back after a repeat run. Won a state championship last year, and the goal is the same this year. So got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Anybody in Ohio who has Spectrum Cable, they carried all the state championship high school games last year, football games. So I actually got to watch them play in that championship, and that was one heck of a game. And congratulations to your son on that. And I saw that on X that he got an offer.
He did. He got an offer from Miami of Ohio, but recruiting today is a little bit different. I think it's a real offer, but not 100% sure. But here's what I do know: he has an opportunity right now to continue to work, and he'll have a chance to go play college football. Hopefully, if he keeps doing that, which is what you want to see and where we want to be right now. So
Awesome.
Awesome.
Great.
All right.
It's cool that you get to coach with your brother.
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost surreal, right? My dad was a high school football coach for 30 plus years down in South Florida. And if you had asked me leaving college if I didn't go into sales, I was going to go be a high school football coach, right? Like that's what I thought I was going to go do. And lo and behold, down the road to actually be able to do it with my brother is even special. Like it's hard to put into words sometimes, but it's pretty cool.
Some younger viewers might not know this, but your older brother Greg was one hell of an outside linebacker for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Academic All-American, captain, Rose Bowl champion, pretty good football player. Played 3 years in the NFL, backed up Hardy Nickerson. He's probably forgotten more football than I know. And I think I know a little bit about football, so he's pretty good at it too.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. So, getting into the show, what was it like being a Buckeye, Steve?
Yeah, that's right. It's one of your childhood dreams, right? My dad played for Woody Hayes back in 58 and 59, grew up in Columbus, moved back to Florida. So growing up, we always watched Ohio State, even though we were down there just because of our family ties to the state. And, it was probably one of those things you talk about growing up, like, yeah, I'd love to play for the Buckeyes. And watching my brother go do it and seeing it become a reality, and then being able to go do it yourself was, like I said, very surreal and pretty special, all in one thing. And you know, it's no different than it is now. It's just watching these guys play and be able to compete at that highest level with people that are doing the same work. That's what it's really special, right? I don't miss the games, and although I love them and they were a lot of fun, I miss the two-a-days. I miss the summer workouts. I miss getting better with guys like that more than anything else. And being able to do that at such a high level like at Ohio State was, as good as it can get, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I would also ask, what made you choose being a Buckeye? Like, what led you to choose to be a Buckeye?
Yeah, it was the coaching staff. It was the opportunity to play. I'm a pretty black and white person. I took a pros and cons list and wrote down the pros and cons for all the different places. And it became, Ohio State and Florida State were my final two, right? I had family in Florida, family in Ohio. Mark Rick actually played high school football with my oldest brother. And he was a quarterback coach at Florida State that time. So, knew the coaching staff really well. Both were state schools, both were top 25. It really came down to where could I play the most. And I had an opportunity to start for 3 years at Ohio State, and that's why I ended up there.
When you were being recruited, did you get recruited as a safety or a quarterback? Because a lot of people might not know this, the younger fans, but you came in and you played. You started as a safety, then you moved to quarterback. I mean, a lot of times when guys switch to quarterback, it's usually they were a receiver or a guy like that skill set. But to go from safety to the quarterback, I mean, you are the quarterback of the defense as a safety, but I mean,
Yeah, coming out, I was recruited as both. There were some schools, for example, like University of Florida, they only recruited me as a safety. Um, Alabama only with safety, things like that. But a lot of schools were recruiting me as an athlete. And, I had the opportunity to help as a freshman. I remember, do you want a red shirt or do you want to contribute? And, I told Coach Cooper, I definitely want to contribute. And was able to run down on special teams and be a backup, safety and fill in for Gary Berry and Damon Moore when they got hurt. So, I learned a lot. And, for me, it was, how do I get better and where can I learn the most? And that's how I ended up playing both. Right. But, got recruited to do both. And, all I asked for was a chance to compete, and the rest is kind of history.
Which did
Oh,
you like better?
It's hard to say. Well, it's not hard to say. Playing quarterback is pretty special, right? And, you're the guy that's in charge of a lot of things, and I really enjoyed that, right? I mean, I probably would have had a lot more fun physically, and my body would have been a lot healthier if I played safety. But I think playing quarterback is what I had the most fun doing for sure.
awesome. What was it like to play under Coach Cooper, and what is your favorite Cooper story?
Yeah, Coach Cooper was, coach's coach and player's coach, however you want to put it. He had an unbelievable staff. He recruited really well, and he let his coaches really run the day to day. But my favorite stories about Cooper, he always had his good one-liners. But every Friday, Coach Cooper would go to the cancer hospital and visit patients. He never told anyone. He'd grab players if they were available, and that's just the type of person he was. So every Friday morning, before we had practice and walkthroughs, he would grab a couple guys and go visit patients, walk the floors of the James Cancer Center, and just go say hello to people. And those are the things that you don't hear about quite often, but he's that type of guy. And that to me was really special. And, how he treated his players and his staff. I think I learned a lot from him in leadership and how you want to run a team and things like that. And learned a lot from Coach Cooper because of that.
Awesome. Who were you close with on the team?
Yeah, obviously the quarterbacks. Craig Krenzel was my roommate. Drew Carter was one of my roommates. So the quarterbacks and receivers, we were all really close. Still talk to a lot of those guys today.
Awesome.
Who do you think was the best player you played against in college, and who was the best player you played with?
Um, I'll go with who I played with. For me, this is kind of it goes back and forth, but so Charles Bentley, from an offensive lineman standpoint, was all world, right? Unfortunately, his career was cut short by a bacteria infection after a surgery, but he is by far one of the best football players I played with. And then defensively, Antoine Winfield is pretty hard to beat as far as a player, but a lot of guys, you guys wouldn't remember him, or you do. But Ryan Pickett,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Pickett was a 12-year NFL veteran, and he was a great anchor to our defensive line and did a lot of great things in the NFL. I mean, just he showed up every day, put in the work. So I mean, I probably missed 100 other guys, but the reality is those are the guys that stuck out to me the most as far as who I played with. As far as playing against. Man, that's tough. Just that 1999 Penn State defense was pretty rough. I think if you go back and watch the film, we had about 74 or 75 offensive plays, and I was on my back for about 60 of them, and that was because of LeVar Arrington. He made my day a long day, and he's a hell of a football player. I mean, just not only was he physically impressive, but mentally. The guy was never out of position, knew where he wanted to be. He timed up his blitz as well. He was just a hell of a football player.
Awesome. Kind of speaking. Oh, sorry, Shaun. Did you want to say something?
Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, speaking of your time in high school, did you play any other sports?
Yeah, so I was football, baseball, basketball. I tried to keep myself as busy as possible, but yeah, I played all three down in South Florida where I went to high school.
Would you say that those experiences helped you in football?
100%. I have this conversation with my kids now. The best part about going and playing a sport that you're not the best at or the biggest at is one, you learn, right? You learn how to fail and you continue to get better. But more importantly, you get to compete. And I think, playing a position or playing a sport that you don't do all the time, that's fine, but you're developing these skills that help you in your main sport, right? More than anything else. But I think that ability to go compete, like if I just played football only, right? Any given year, I'm playing 10 to 12 games at best in high school. And where players develop the most is in time of competition, right? When things aren't going well, you got to make a last second play, or get the guy out at home, whatever you want to call it. But that ability to compete and put yourself in pressure situations only helps you for your main sport. So I highly encourage my kids and the kids that we coach today to play other sports, because you learn a lot about yourself.
What was your first impression of Coach Tressel when he came in? Because you were there for Coach Tressel's first year. What was your, because I know when they were, when the position was open, there was like Ty Wellingham, Chris Millman was another big name. People didn't really mention Tressel too much. So what was your first impressions of Coach?
So I was fortunate enough to be a part of the interview committee. So Joe Cooper and I, because we were both captains, had a chance to be a part of that. So we interviewed all the coaches, and we sat in on some of those panel things. So I got to meet Coach Tressel throughout that, and he really impressed me. Right. Obviously, I talked about Coach Cooper and his style. And, I always get asked what was the biggest difference, and I would tell you, coaches are a lot like CEOs of companies, right? They have a lot of fundamental things that are very the same. How they execute's a little bit different. And, you know, Trestle ball was a real thing because Coach Tress had his hand in a lot of those. But Trestle also was a coach's coach and a player's coach as well, right? I mean, those guys, and you saw it the following year after I left, they had such a cohesive group. You don't win a national championship without being able to play together and deal with some turmoil and things like that. And to watch what they did that following year is a tribute to Tressel, right? And bringing the group together and making them, compete at that high level. So loved Coach Tressel. So to me, I wasn't surprised when he got that role just because of how he interviewed and the things that he did at Youngstown State. I mean, you follow his career. Um, what he did at Ohio State is no different what he did everywhere else, right? I mean, he has a great blueprint. And, just like I said, I learned a lot from Coach Cooper with leadership. I did the same with Tressel.
Ooh, what's funny is everything you said about Tressel reminds me so much about that little detail about how he brought everybody together. Reminds me so much. What did you think about the 2024 team's role after the debacle with Scum?
Yeah, I mean, that's when you need a good head coach, a good leader to pull the troops together and say, all right, guys, what did we learn? Right? It's one thing to sit there and say, hey, we got beat, which is true, right? They beat us fair and square. We didn't play well. But if you just sit there and dwell on that and not get better from it, shame on you, right? That's an opportunity to get better. And I give Ryan Day and that staff credit because the run that we saw after that game, right now, I've not seen a team play like that ever. Short of maybe that LSU team when they won the national championship with Joe Burrow. I mean, they were playing at a high level, but to watch what Ohio State did in that playoff, that was special. I mean, really good football.
Yeah, I wanted to get your opinion on that since you brought that up.
Well, but that's the true mark of a team, right? I mean, you look at any national championship team or Super Bowl winner, they're going to have games in adversity. They're going to have a player get hurt. And how you manage that and how you react to it will dictate what happens in the future. I mean, big time. And I give Ryan Day a ton of credit for being able to do that, right? It could have been really easy for them to get distracted or use that negatively. And they took it as a positive, learned from it, and won a national championship.
You could actually see how strong of a culture that Ohio State had. I mean, a lot of teams would have folded, or internal fighting would have just tore teams apart, and they actually rallied together and became closer and pulled out probably the most impressive playoff run in college football playoff history right now. I know it's not that long of a history, but I mean that was one hell of a run.
I mean, they call it the greatest run of all time.
Without a doubt, it is now. I mean, someone's got to go beat it, put it that way. And add another layer of complexity. You have NAL, right? So you had first year quarterback come in, right? And Caleb Downs come in, your center who got hurt, right? You had all these different things that happened. Could have been really easy to be like, oh, that guy's getting paid a bunch of money. Like, he doesn't care about Ohio State. He doesn't care about beating Michigan. And none of that happened. And so that's just, add that level of complexity to it. We didn't have that, right? I mean, when I was playing, everyone was at Ohio State because that's where we wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, whether we like to admit it or not, sometimes some of these folks are at Ohio State because we're going to pay them the most money. And that's okay. But, being able to play like a team and do what they did, to your point, it is the greatest of all time. And someone's going to have to beat that.
I mean, they dominated. I mean, think about it. You dominated some of the best teams in a fashion that no one's ever seen. I mean, 4 straight teams. Like,
Yeah.
Tennessee was no joke. Oregon was no joke. And it's the same team that beat us in the regular season by points
Right.
and just dominated them. Texas, you straight out just beat on them. You should have been up by more, but because of constant mistakes, but you didn't let that deter you. Instead, you continuously won, and you won the game by double digits, and then you dominated Notre Dame for majority of the game. So, like, when you win by double digits, 4 straight games, dominant fashion across some of the best teams, especially top 5 teams, like top 10 and top 5,
Yeah.
like that's just unheard of.
Right. You expect some of those games to be a lot closer and, uncomfortable. But going in the fourth quarter, most of those games, I'm like, we're good. We're real good.
Again, the only close game was that Texas game, and that was because of the constant mistakes. And they never let it slip. Now they didn't even trail. They tied the game, but they never trailed.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
How do you feel about the new playoff system that they have?
Mhm.
I like it better this year than last. I think, rank them where they're supposed to be ranked and go. Going into last year, I thought it was too many teams. But watching how it played out, I think they got it right. And I think we can tweak it. But I think, if and if you think about it, if we did the rankings the way they were set up, we would have had a totally different path just based off our ranking alone. So I think that makes the most sense in what they're doing this year. All right, it'll play out. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to get it perfect, and people are always going to find something to mess up. But I think going into this year, knowing what to expect with the teams and kind of the format and how people are going to be seated, I think they got it right.
What are your expectations for the Buckeyes this season? Even though we should all know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think their goal and expectations is national championship. I think they have the players to do it. I think you know the recipe to win a national championship, Super Bowl, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty simple. You got to be good at running the ball, right? You got to win on third down, right? And then you got to win the turnover battle. And that third down, I'm not worried about our defense. I think Coach Patricia is going to come in and bring another level of play that, we saw last year with Coach Knowles. I'm not worried about that. It's going to be the guy calling the signals, right? And calling the plays in the huddle. And can they get to that level? The one thing that we had with Will Howard, he had a ton of experience, right? There weren't too many situations that he saw that were going to get him rattled, right? Go back to our 2002, 2015, our national championship teams. Those things I just said are really true, right? We ran the ball, we were good on third down, and we didn't turn it over. We can do that again this year. I don't care who's calling the plays and back at quarterback, but that's got to be a fundamental part of what they do. They got to take good care of the ball, and we got to win on third down. We're going to be able to run the ball. I think we're going to, run by committee, and that'll be fine. But when we're called upon to throw the ball and make plays on third down, that guy's got to be able to do it, and that'll be, that's our unknown right now. And the hard part is, just going to practice. Both these guys have very differing styles of play, but from a leadership perspective, I see a lot of the same qualities out of these two. So I think it's a really good spot. They're going to have to decide how they're going to do it. But I think either way, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I was gonna touch into the quarterback part of it, where it's like, how did you see it playing out? As a former quarterback.
Yeah, I haven't been at all the practices, but it really depends on who they want to be this year. And so, the other factor, I think it's understated. Chip Kelly was a huge resource for us last year, right? And, you take a veteran guy like Chip Kelly, a veteran quarterback like Will Howard, those guys are going to, there's a lot you can throw at them. Now we have a first time coordinator. It is what it is. And we're going to have a first time quarterback. So these first couple games, right, are going to be interesting to see, and it's all going to depend on how quickly we establish an identity, right? And who they want to be. And so, the question I always ask ourselves, even at, coaching in high school, it's 3rd and 4, game is on the line. What play are we calling? Who are we? Right? Are we lining up and running the ball? Are we throwing it? Do we have a certain player we want to get to? And they have to figure that out. And, looking the work that Coach Day has already done in previous years, we're going to figure out that very quickly against Texas. And we'll know. And we'll be able to see that. And that's going to tell us, how we go for the rest of the year.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I think for Brian Hartline, he spent his time learning under Chip Kelly for this very reason. Because they knew if Chip Kelly was to get called by the NFL, they knew he was leaving. You hope
Sure.
not, but you knew it was happening. So, but that was the whole reason for Ryan Day bringing him in to help Brian Hartline learn how to coach the offense and teach him certain things. And Brian Hartline has said that's been a big help. And Ryan Day's still helping him now. He's still letting him call plays, but he's helping him as time goes on.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a rhythm to calling plays. And, Hartline's going to probably feel very comfortable week 6 versus week 2, right? And that's just the natural progression. And so will our quarterback, right? I mean, we're going to be a different team week 6 than we are in this first couple of weeks. The reality is we have enough good players that we'll be all right. I'm not worried about us one bit.
I think that another good thing is you bring in Tyler Bowen as the offensive line coach and run game coordinator, and he's got experience as being an offensive coordinator too and calling plays. So I think he kind of got a fail safe there. You got Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen around Heartline, so I think he
Yeah.
should be pretty well once he gets comfortable.
And they said that was the reason for him coming in was to also help out Heartline with play calling, especially with the run game. Because obviously Brian is a wide receiver and he's kind of more of a pass game type guy. Where the run game is where he always struggled. Like calling pass games, he had no problem with. Run game is where he struggled, and I think that's the purpose of them bringing Tyler Bowen and Chip Kelly in is to help him with to help him with that.
Oh, without a doubt. That's one thing you can guarantee at Ohio State. We're not short on resources, right? I mean, we're going to have the tools and people around to help not only the players, but in our coaching staff, right? So I'm not worried about that one bit.
Ooh,
How would
what do you
you
think of
like
the Josh
all those?
Boyd hire? Sorry, Shaun. I had to ask. I had to ask. I had to ask. What do you think of the Josh Boyd hire?
Oh, sorry.
I think it's great, right? I mean, um, you can never have enough talent in your roster or in your coaching staff. And what you saw last year that made this team special, right? We kind of talked about it, but I didn't pinpoint it as much. But you have to be willing to put your ego aside and do what's best for the team. And I think Coach Day had done a tremendous job of that, right? I mean, I hinted on that with the NIL piece, right? It could have been really easy for guys to get sideways of like, oh, well, he's not here because he wants to beat Michigan, and that's why we lost. You didn't hear any of that. You didn't see any of that. And that's a tribute to Ryan Day. And I think that will be the same in our coaching staff, right? I mean, that's where this staff is special is they take their egos, put it aside, and I know Coach Hartline. I've met him and seen him coach to know very well that he will take any and all advice because he wants the team to win over his success, right? So
Yep.
that's going to be the key to what makes this team click. And so again, adding another person like that, I think it's the right fit because he will put that ego aside, right? I mean, that's a really big deal. And when you're able to do that, you can accomplish some really special things. And we're going to do that.
Yeah. One thing Ryan Day always says: culture above all else.
No doubt.
Being a former quarterback yourself, how did Tavian St. Clair look to you? I know he's just a freshman coming in. He's a lot more to learn, but how did he look to you?
I saw him early in the spring and, more recently, his footwork and timing of things is continuing to improve. And that's what you want to see out of a freshman quarterback. The speed of the game is just different. You've got guys that are moving faster than you've ever played with, right? And so being able to catch up to that. So from a talent and physical perspective, he's light years ahead than I ever could have been, right? I mean, he's got all the tools. It's now how does your mind process and keep up with the speed? And I'd tell you I'd be worried if I didn't see that improvement. But from where he was from when he first came into where he is now, he's looking great. And the future is pretty bright for that kid if he continues on that progression.
Was there any players that kind of surprised you when you went to practice, or is there maybe a player that we might not know about that you expect to maybe have a breakout year?
I mean, you guys have heard it probably from the other reporter, but our tight end room is different. Like we got some guys that are pretty special. Um, you know, the usual suspects are going to be great, but like that's a position where we've always had really good players, but in our offense lately, we haven't needed them. With what I think Coach Hartline is going to bring from his NFL experience in the passing game, and including that tight end, you'll see the mismatches and things that we're going to be able to create. It's going to be pretty good. I expect a lot out of that group, and that's going to help our quarterbacks. I mean, if you go back to last year actually and go watch Julian Sayin play, he was the only one actually that threw it to the tight end in some of the blowout games, right? And so that's something I think he's comfortable with and used to, and you're going to see us utilize that a little bit more.
Well, his touchdown pass was to Ben Christian, the tight end. So I mean,
Hmm.
the one touchdown he had. I mean,
Speaking of
No.
the team, what do you think are their biggest strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think experience is going to be the weakness, right? I mean, you got some younger guys that got to step up and they got to play, right? Like that's the you've heard you've heard Ryan Day say, pressure's a privilege, right? And these guys came to Ohio State for that reason. So let's see what they're capable of. So I'd say that. And then the strength is going to be our superstar talent, right? Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. You get two of the best football players in college football. If you know, then put it that way, that's where this quarterback role, that's why I made it a point to say in the beginning, it doesn't matter who's the signal caller, as long as they can manage the offense, win third down, and not turn it over. We got enough good players. Just give them the ball. And that's going to be something for them to manage and learn. But we do that, we're going to be fine. So our experience is going to be the thing that we got to get revved up very quickly. And, good news, we get to play Texas game 1. So we don't have time to wait for it, right? We're going to have to go out and figure that out. And then, the lean on our superstars. Don't be afraid to force the ball to Jeremiah Smith sometimes. I don't care if he's double covered. You got to let your playmakers make plays. And we'll find schemes and ways to do that. But to me, that's our strength and weakness. And that'll be the whole year.
I don't think they have a problem throwing it to him in double coverage. I think it's triple coverage where they would have kind of be like, okay, we're not doing that.
Yeah, but you can't with our offense. I mean, that's the beautiful thing, right? You want a triple coverage, thank you, because he gets it. He knows he'll be his, and then everyone else will be wide open. So we'll see how that plays out. But
yeah, and like you said, our tight ends are actually becoming weapons on this offense too. So it's like you're going to have to make a choice. Like it's either going to be Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Jelani Thurman, Max Clare, friggin' Will
right?
Kazmarek, Bennett Christian, all them guys. And don't forget about the running backs either. Like you really got to make a
Well,
choice.
right. Last year that was understated too. We had 2 1,000-yard rushers.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal. And so I expect more of the same this year with our 2 running backs. And I think they're going to get ramped up really quickly. So it's a good, like I said, there's not a lack of resources at Ohio State right now.
I think that offensive line is really going to be key. I mean, we got 7 or 8, maybe even 9 guys that could start. I mean, and play at a high level. So I mean, I think they're really going to be able to run the ball at will, and I mean, they're going to give Julian time. And I think the better they run it, the better the play action is going to be off of it. So I think that's going to be a strength.
Without a doubt. I mean, and we saw last year, you need 7 to 8 offensive linemen, right? Because you're going to have injuries, unfortunately. And that's just a position where it's tough. So if you don't have 7, 8 guys to rotate and have good backups, it's going to be challenging. We have that. So to your point.
Do you think we can repeat?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I guarantee if you ask the players, do they think they can repeat? And they would say the same thing, right? All the tools are there. It'd be one thing if we had big question marks, and but we don't. Our biggest question mark is what quarterback we're going to start.
Mm-hmm. But
That's
that's
a big
something
one.
for some reason, that's something the national media doesn't understand. But that's whatever.
Right. I mean, but I don't. Yeah, I don't see a big weakness with this team, right? And if we continue that culture that you talked about, and we put our egos aside, I've seen the work that they've done. Man, they just gotta go play football now. And the good news is we're a couple weeks away. So, all this talk and all that we can put aside and go play football. And I think that's what those boys are looking forward to for sure.
Yeah. Do you think we can win the Big Ten? And do you think we could beat the team up north this year?
Yeah, I do. I do. And I'll say this. No one wants to hear this, but even if we do lose to Michigan, Ryan Day shouldn't go anywhere ever right now. Like it just shouldn't happen. And look, I hate that team more than anything else, but it's like just being very realistic and pragmatic about the situation. Ryan Day is a hell of a football coach, and what we've done under him has been nothing but short of amazing. And hey, last year they out schemed us and we didn't make adjustments. I don't see that happening this year with the staff, right? With the people that we brought in. And we're not last year's team. So I'm not too worried about it. I think Michigan's got stuff they need to figure out, right? They got a big question mark at quarterback as well. Sounds like they got a really good guy there, but the heart and soul of that Michigan team has been their defense and running the ball. So we'll see what they can continue to do. They, up front, their defensive line last year, and Penn State had those 2 guys get drafted very early, were really good, really good. And they're going to have to replace those guys. And I know actually Coach Esposito pretty well. I lived in Kalamazoo, Michigan. His son and my son actually played football together, and he's a hell of a coach. And he'll have those boys ready. But I'm not too worried about it. I think we're going to be in the right spot this year, on the right side of that game.
Well, speaking of Coach Day, I mean, look at the way the playoff picture is now with the 12-team playoff. I mean, there's no reason why Ohio State, just the way we run recruiting and the way he coaches, that we shouldn't make the playoffs every year. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But you still got to go play football.
Yeah.
And if we continue to do what we've been doing, you're right. There shouldn't be any issues. We get comfortable and think we just belong there. No, you won't make it, right? But no, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, but you never know. But I think Coach Day will continue to always have those boys ready.
It's funny he's talking about the Michigan players. I was actually going into the NFL looking up all players that were drafted to look at all the preseason games. What's funny is the guys that were drafted they were great.
Yeah, preseason to me doesn't matter.
I know preseason doesn't matter, but I'm like, because I track everybody from our players to Michigan's to Penn State's. I track everybody to see what people are saying about them, how they all do things, and I'm like, I don't think preseason should matter as much, even though I do think it can be like a great, like, I'm gonna just say a way to see how you look against just the other guys that you got drafted with, to see how you look against them, and then we'll try to see how you look against the pros. But here's what I'm gonna say: if you're struggling against a bunch of guys from college that you were just with, there's gonna be some eyebrows raised because that ain't great, especially when reports come out about you not looking good at all.
For sure,
that's not great. I hope he does. I mean, if I'm a Michigan fan, I hope they do play well because we kind of seen what's been going on with your players.
It'll be interesting.
No, seriously, like all their players from like the 21 to 23 outside of Adrian Hutchinson have been absolute trash. So like, if you're a Michigan fan, you better hope these guys do well, because if they don't,
yeah.
Who do you think besides Penn State could surprise us in the Big Ten this year? A lot of people saying Illinois. Do you think Indiana still is a threat, or is there anybody that you can maybe a dark horse that no one's seeing right now?
Yeah, listen, when you think of the quality of coaches, you can't ever put Penn State out of that picture, right? And we know where they're at. But Oregon, right? They got a quality head coach. Indiana's got a quality head coach. I got some question marks for Luke and what they're going to do there. I know he's got a great coach, and he's a great coach and great staff. But do they have the talent to compete at the level they want? I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see where Nebraska falls out in all of this. They got a great quarterback, right? He had flashes last year that looked really good. But it's going to be the usual players, right? The Big Ten is going to go through Ohio State, Penn State,
Oregon.
Oregon will be up there. So I don't know of any dark horses per se, outside of maybe Nebraska, just because they got some really good talent at quarterback. Don't know enough about Illinois. That's the first time I've heard that. So I've not heard much about them, but we'll see. I know, he's a hell of a coach as well. And they'll play hard-nosed football, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know.
What is your opinion on Drew Aller being the former quarterback that you are? I know he's from the Columbus area. Did you get to watch him coming out of in high school at all?
I didn't watch him out of high school, but his quarterback coach actually works with my nephew. So I've gotten to watch a lot more film and, see what he's capable of. He's a hell of a football player. And, they're one or two plays away from having a completely different season last year. Big Ten should go through Drew Aller, right? If he plays well, they should win it. All right. I mean, you look at the game we had against them, arguably the wildest two series of football when we fumble it out of the back of the end zone and then we get an interception. And then we finally got to our senses and started running the ball the second half and kept the ball out of his hands, right? He's a dynamic, intelligent quarterback. He's got all the tools. I expect big things out of him, right? I'm a fan, actually. I think he's going to go on and have a great NFL career as well. So we'll see how that plays out. For us, I hope he doesn't beat us, but he's got all the tools to do it.
Well, I just wanted to ask you because there are people that really love him and there's people that criticize the heck out of him. So I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's very talented. I mean, if he wasn't, Ryan Day wouldn't have went after him. So I mean, Ryan Day tried to recruit him. So I mean, he knows a thing or two about quarterbacks.
On top of the fact, I think the biggest reason he got criticized was because of how he crumbles in big time games. Even though we've pretty much said it, like Penn State never had good receivers for him to throw to outside of like Tyler Warren, who's a tight end.
Yeah, I love the comment, the love and the hate, right? You can say the same thing about me. People hated me, some people love me. Here's the reality about playing quarterback: you get a lot more credit when you don't deserve it, and you get a lot more criticism when you don't deserve it. Somewhere the truth always lies in, or somewhere in the middle always lies the truth.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. Drew Aller's a hell of a football player, right?
Here's
And then big games, your players got to step up and make plays. And yeah, there's play calling that goes with that. There's a ton. Um, if anything, Coach Franklin should be in the hot seat,
I
in
was about
my
to say
humble.
that. I was about to say that. James Franklin. I don't think Penn State will win it because we all like Chris, me, and everybody else always coins this thing. Like James Franklin going James Franklin. He's going Franklin it
Yeah,
to his fans.
I mean, I look at the Michigan game last year. Uh, I blame our coaches. I
Yeah.
hate to say, yeah,
Yeah.
coach got to go first, but we made no adjustments, right?
Well,
And it
I've
just
talked about that.
and I give Michigan credit, right? They, especially on
Yeah.
defense, the too high shell. They said you're not going to beat us deep, and they were giving us the run, but their D line beat us one on one up front. And
Well,
so we needed to
actually,
find something different, but it didn't work.
we actually could have beat them through the air. It's just that there were certain things that Ryan they could have done where we still could have beat him over the air. Because when we threw it to Jeremiah Smith, it ended with him catching the ball or ended it with a defensive pass interference. Every time we threw it his way, something good happened. Every time we moved through the air, and we even used tempo to go up to try to wear out their defense because we've even seen Texas do it, we've seen Illinois do it, we've seen other teams do it. The thing is with Ryan Day, I brought this up where I think he played into their hands because of so much talk about the running game and so much talk about
Being
how
soft.
with these teams, yeah, like all of that. And I've kind of debunked the running game myth because it's like Ohio State's beating you with more than just the run. It's just that the run was part of it, but it wasn't the entire game. Like we beat you by out scheming you. We beat you by out planning you. We beat you by dissecting your defense. Like Tressel at one point beat Michigan through the air with air raid with a defense they were playing by spreading out 5 wide receivers. And I remember because the former Ohio State player, Kirk Barton, I think he showed this on his
Yep.
show before, where he showed the whole thing, where he showed how Tressel dissected that entire Michigan defense because he knew he couldn't run it on him straight up, so he had to try to air it out as much as he could. Even Urban Meyer's done that a couple times. So in order to sometimes open up the run, you have to pass the ball. You have to do that. And
No
you have
doubt.
to come up with multiple schemes. So I think the problem was with Ryan Day was he kept falling into their hands. He played the game the way they wanted him to because of how much he was messing with them up here.
Yep. They got us off script, and we didn't adjust. I mean, plain
It
and
was
simple.
exactly. It was like you could have done that, but you chose not to because you want to prove something. And it's like, Ryan, we don't care how you beat Michigan. Just
Just
beat
beat
them.
them. Win.
Like whether it's through the run game, whether it's through the pass, or both, do it. Just beat them. Beat the daylights out of them.
And that's what we saw in the playoff run.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
we learned something.
I think that was the most frustrating thing. It's like that game plan should have been the game plan you had against Michigan. Just
Yeah. I bet it's just run tempo. Wear out their defense because their offense sucks. Their offense can't move the ball. Just run tempo. Keep run tempo. Wear out their defense. Let the defense get their offense off let your defense get their offense off the field. They use your offense and run tempo and wear Michigan out. Like I thought that was going to continue into the second half. I was like, oh, okay, they're not going to let Michigan try to adjust to this. They're going to wait till the second half to do it. They're going to do it in spurts, and then they're just going to start doing it in the second half and give Michigan like all kinds of anxiety and tire them out. No, you didn't do it once.
No doubt.
Hey, I do want to ask this. What was your biggest moment as a Buckeye, given the fact that as a player?
I've been asked that a few times, and it's hard to say. My freshman year was really special. Winning the Sugar Bowl, Big Ten championship. Um, my senior year, that last game was really special. Unfortunately, we lost. So it's like a mixed bag for me when it comes to certain things. UCLA, that first game when I came out,
Mm-hmm.
it was a night game. That was really special as well. There's a lot of moments, man. But it's funny when I get asked that, I go back to being more of a fan when my brother played. Like those moments stick out the most to me. I mentioned it earlier. Like I miss the games, but I miss the work, the summer workouts and things like that. The two-a-days and the locker room jokes and stuff like that. Those are my memories that stick out more than anything else. But there's a lot of good memories. So it's hard to say. I'd let you guys decide.
camaraderie.
Awesome.
No doubt.
You know, there's gonna be people who ask, but what are your thoughts of our little rivals up north? People are gonna ask. So
No, yeah. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts of the scum scandals? People are gonna ask.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. Right? I mean, you can cover it up all you want, but there's a reason why Coach Harbaugh left. There's a reason why that guy's not on staff anymore. There's a reason why, a lot of things. And shame on us for if we knew about it, whatever is true or not
It's not
changing
true.
things. But at the end of the day, like, um, yeah, they definitely did something. What it is and to what extent, I think it'll all come out in the wash one day. But yeah, there's a lot that went on there that put it this way. Coach Tressel got pushed out of college football over some things today that wouldn't even exist. And why he was pushed out is I asked him about it and he wasn't forthright up at the beginning, right? And then they had to make an example out of him. That will happen to Michigan. It'll all come out in the wash before it's all said and done. They'll keep pushing it or finding ways to hide it, but like they definitely did something. To what degree? That's the part that I don't think we fully understand. Right? When you see these coaches and some of the little things that have happened, what are they trying to cover up? I don't know, but
Yeah,
not good.
From some of the stuff that's coming out, it's huge. It's the world's largest and worst cheating scandal there is. You didn't even try to hide it. You literally were blatantly doing it, and somehow you got away with this for 3 years until it took somebody pointing out Connor Steins on the Central Michigan sideline,
Crazy.
which still and apparently it's not his first time doing it either. He did it in 2022. There is video evidence of him on the 2022, like against Michigan State on the sidelines of some other team. And there's apparently like 6 other incidents that he's done this. Now there's not as much proof as there were at the first 2, but there is stuff that's been talked about. So like, really?
It's wild.
It's just crazy that somebody would actually have the guts to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, who'd ever
sending people to go advance scout film sidelines?
I mean, you have to be really desperate to do that,
Yeah, like bro, from the info that has come out, it was like really big. I mean, they did this to like what 50 games across 50 games across college football. So like, this was a huge scandal. But the stuff that has been like left out is like the most important set of things because it's like there's still more to this that we don't know, but there's a lot that's been out where it's like it tells you just how big this was. And the thing about Ohio State knowing it is like teams knew they were stealing signals, they just didn't know the length. That's the difference. Like
how they were doing it.
Yeah, like they were so confused because it went so far as hacking into the servers of other programs. Ohio State being one of them. How this turned out to be was the FBI saw this as well as U.S. Integrity saw this on their computers. Practice footage of other programs on their stuff. Ohio State and Penn State have been confirmed. There have been Michigan State, Rutgers, Georgia, Alabama, like several other programs that we don't even know about who are all got their stuff stolen, hacked and stolen from Michigan by the whole scandal with Matt Weiss and Connor Steins. So it went deeper than any of us thought.
Yeah, put it this way, it's bad for sure, and it'll all come out, and unfortunately, it's going to erase their national championship more than likely, and it should.
It is.
The hard part is to your point, like how desperate, like they're good enough, they didn't need to do that, right? They're a good football program, they are, but they, you don't need to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because of how bad because even though they are a good football program, we all say, but they like Harbaugh was on the cusp of getting fired because not only could he not beat Ohio State, but he could not win a big game. He was 0-6 in bowl games. Like you couldn't even win a bowl game for God's sakes. So like, and then the team 2020 was so trash. Like Shaun, you and I talked about it. They could have went like 2-7, and they were in the Illinois and Purdue game. One touchdown away from going like 0-6.
I mean, that's crazy.
They were that bad in 2020, and that would have got him fired for sure.
They self-selected and didn't play us.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Like how bad is that?
Because they knew they were gonna get beat, bro. That was not going to be a close game. That was going to be a butt whooping to know tomorrow, especially because Jim Harbaugh kept running his mouth.
Tells me everything I need to know.
Steve, before we let you go, just wanted to ask you, what's your prediction for Ohio State this year?
I think it's going to be very similar to last year. We're going to lose a couple. We're going to lose a close game. We're not going to like it, and I think we're going to have to learn from it. And opening games, they're always a coin flip. Um, you got to realize Texas is in a similar situation. I know a lot of people are putting Archie Manning as unbelievable, win the Heisman, and he's a hell of a football player. But this will be his first time starting too. And if you remember, he popped in that game last year for one play and we made him fumble. So they're in a similar boat as we are, right? They're going to be figuring out who they are and what their identity is. So this first game's a coin flip, and the fact that we're playing at home, I like where we're at, but we're going to slip up along the way. Unfortunately, I think we're going to lose a game to learn a little bit about who we are as a coaching staff, as players, and then, knowing that we have this playoff chance and, we continue to win and do the right things, I have a really good feeling we're going to be in that final game. And it's gonna come down to a matchup, and don't know what that looks like yet. But I like our odds to go back and win it on a national championship for sure.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Buckeye Lounge on a pre-recorded. Thank you to our guest Steve Bellisari. If we ever could get him on the live, you guys would be free to ask questions at some point.
Yeah.
And a shout out to our producer Vader, who gave us the questions, set things up, and really, really helped us out with the program. Yeah, we couldn't do this without you, brother. And make sure you guys tune in tomorrow on the Buckeye Lounge. We're gonna have Joe Taylor. We're going to have
Andy
obviously
canceled actually, so
she canceled.
She had to reschedule, so we'll have Donnie, Nikki, and Maurice Hall.
Okay, so we'll be rescheduling on that one. We're just gonna have Donnie.
Oh, I will. Hey, I gotta ask you one question. We had James Cotton on here, and I know Ben Hartzog was telling some stories about how shredded he was and how much of an animal he was in practice. And I know James played with you. What was he like?
James was a freak. I mean, you think of that play against Penn State, right? Their running back breaks out and he's gone, right? James walked him down. So going against James all the time is not a lot of fun. I can tell you that much. But he's a hell of a football player.
Nice guy too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So guys, make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe. Oh, and Wednesday, you guys are going to tune in for our live show we're gonna have on Wednesday at 8:00 Eastern time, of course.
But want to wish Drew Bellisari good luck this year, and hope you guys run it back and win another state championship. Best of luck to you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. You guys are bored on a Friday night.
Yeah, we're rooting for you, man. Go ahead and get it done.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, thanks. No problem. Welcome back anytime, Steve. Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
You got it.
And Shaun, how do we end this?
OH.
IO.
IO.
Go Bucks. See you all later.
See ya.
Yes, see y'all later.